Welcome back to Poison Pose. In this video, we are going to learn the lesson which is given in Standard 10 Samacheer Kalvi Unit 6. The last lesson. This is part 1 of the video. Part 2 video's link is given in the description. Click on to the link and listen to the remaining part. Let's get into the lesson. This lesson is set in the days of France-Prussian War. France was ruled by Bismarck. Prussia then consisted of what now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. The Prussians defeated the French, and the districts of Alsace and Lorraine fell into the hands of Prussians. The oppressors not only wanted the territory but dominated over the language and culture of Germans, thus to take away their identity. Read the lesson to find out what impact this had on life at school. Here, what you see in the picture is the France Prussian War, and the man over there on the left is Bismarck. He was the one who ruled France. Then, the map given in the picture, the orange part is Alsace and Lorraine. These are the places captured by the Germans. It is there located in between France and Germany, and that is where the war is happening. Let us listen to the lesson. I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding, especially because M. Hamill had said that he would ask us on participles, and I did not know the first word about it. This paragraph says that the narrator is a small boy, a schoolboy. He was already late for school and he was in a great dread. Dread means worried about something. He is worried about something. And let's see what is he worried about. Scolding means to speak angrily. Someone scolding you when you do something wrong. So he is worried about the scolding, especially M. Hamill. Hamill is the French master. So the master, he said he's going to give a test on participles. But this fellow, the narrator, the schoolboy, he knows nothing about that. So he wanted to skip his classes that day. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of the doors. Now he felt that he doesn't want to attend the class and run out of the doors, saying some reason. But he also adds that it was so warm and so bright. There wasn't any snow. The climate was clear. It was so bright. The birds were chirping. Chirping means the sound of the birds. The birds were chirping in the woods, that is in the forest, and in the open field back of the sawmill. Sawmill is a place where wooden logs are cut. So near the sawmill, back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers, they were drilling, means they were practicing exercises. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles, but I had the strength to resist. Means to stop yourself from. He wanted to stop himself from going to school, but he hurried off to school. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. Now, as he was running to the school, he saw a town hall and the people, a crowd was standing there near the bulletin board. That is the notice board over there. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer, and I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? Now, here he says that as he was crossing the town hall, he saw a crowd of people standing near the bulletin board, and for the last 2 years, while there was war in their country, for the last 2 years, all the bad news they heard was through the notice board, through that bulletin board. The lost in the battles, the orders of the commanding officers, etc. A lot of things, whatever related to that war and everything, was given there on the bulletin board. Now he is thinking to himself, what could be the matter now? What was that the people are standing and watching over there? Then, as I hurried by as fast I could go, the blacksmith washer, who was there with his apprentice, reading the bulletin, called after me. Now, there among the crowd, there was a blacksmith. His name is Washer, and he was standing there with his apprentice. Apprentice means a person who works for low pay in order to learn the skills. And they were reading the bulletin board. Suddenly, they turned over this fellow, and he said, "Don't go so fast, Bub. You'll get to your school in a plenty of time." Now, here he is saying, Bub. Bub means informal way to rudely call a boy. Okay, that is called as a bub. So he says, Bub, don't run so fast. You have plenty of time to reach the school. I thought he was making fun of me and reached Yem Hamel's little garden all out of breath. Usually, when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the streets. The opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison, very loud with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. Now, here, usually, when there is a school, when the school opens and when the children are inside the school, usually what happens, there is a great bustle. Bustle means to be full of people and so noisy. The school itself was so noisy. And the opening and closing of the desk was heard. Lessons repeated again and again. Unison. Unison means simultaneous performance. The lessons were repeated in an unison. They all were together saying very loud with our hands over our ears. They used to close their ears because that was so loud. The teacher's great ruler rapping on the table means hitting hard. He was tapping, hitting hard on the table. So all these noises were heard in a usual way. But now it was so still. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course, that day everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. Now, what he felt was commotion means great noise. Among all these great noise, he thought that he can get inside the classroom because he was late already. So he thought nobody will notice him and he can enter inside the classroom. But all of a sudden, the classroom was so quiet. The school itself was so quiet, like as if it was a Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places and M. Hamill walking up and down with this terrible iron ruler under his arm. Now, through the window, this little fellow was able to see all his friends. They are already in their places. And Mr. Hamill, the class teacher, he was walking up and down the classroom with a ruler under his arm. That was a iron ruler which was under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was, but nothing happened. Here, as all his expectations has gone in vain, he has to open the door and went inside. Everybody looked at him. So he's asking, can you imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was? Blushed means to become red in face, especially when you feel guilty. When we feel guilty, our faces become red. So he's asking us, can you imagine how guilty I felt and how frightened I was? But nothing happened at all. Hamill saw me and said very kindly, go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you. He said, yeah, Get inside, Franz. Go sit down in your places. We have already started the class. So it was a surprise for this little fellow because he never thought that the class master would be so lenient and kind to him, even though he was late. I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and a little black silk cap, all embroidered, and that he had never wore expect on inspections and prize days. Now, what he did as soon as he came inside the classroom, he jumped over the desk and he went and sat in his place. After all this little fright and all was over, he just now noticed that his teacher was in a different manner. He was wearing a beautiful green coat, his shirt was a frilled shirt. He also had a cap, a little black silk cap, it was all embroidered. Now, these kind of dresses were worn by the teacher only during prize distribution days and inspection days. To his surprise, this teacher was wearing such a coat and cap, and he was dressed in a grand manner on that day to school. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Old Hauser, with his three cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postman, and several others besides. Now, here it was so strange on that day, and the classroom was so quiet. Suddenly, when he turned back and when he saw the back benches, which those benches are usually empty, but this time the benches were not empty. Instead, the village people were sitting quietly like students in on the table. Old Hauser was there. He was wearing a three-cornered hat. Can you look in the picture? This is a three-cornered hat. And the former mayor was there, former postmaster was there, and several other people of the village were sitting. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. Now, this man Hauser, he had a old primer, means an old book that was thumbed at the edges. Thumbed means worn out. It is all worn out on the edges. Our old books, by the time that we have reached the sixth lesson, our English books would have been thumbed up the way we use it, right? The corners, the edges, and all are folded. That is called as thumbed up. And Hauser was holding that old book in his hand, and he had his spectacles on the book where the pages were open. The book was on his knees. While I was wondering about it all, M. Hamill mounted his chair, and in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." What a thunderclap these words were to me. Oh, the wretches! That was what they had put up at the town hall. Now, here the master is saying he mounted his chair and he sat on the chair. Mounted means this word is usually used for sitting on top of a horse or a cycle to ride it. But here it is given like a phrase. He mounted and sat on the chair in the same grave and gentle tone. The same soft voice is talking to the children, saying that this is your last class, and there is an order which has come from Berlin saying that the schools which are in Alsace and Lorraine must teach only German and no more French. So the new master is coming tomorrow. I will not be in the school anymore. And this information sounded like a thunderclap for this little fellow. Thunderclap means a loud crash made by thunder. These were like thunderclap for him. Oh, the wretches, that was what they had put up at the town hall. Now he's thinking, oh, this was the news that was put up over there on the town hall bulletin board. Wretches means misfortune. Thank you for watching this video. Part 2, the remaining part of this lesson is given in the description. Click on the video and watch part 2.